You are listening to Women's Running Stories, where exceptional women runners share inspirational stories about their running experiences.
I remember that post. I'm 43 and I just ran, look at who just ran this 5K. And that kind of propelled me into this just way of life that is so, I guess, purposeful for me. And then also just giving me back that peace that I've never had, that I always needed, giving me that purpose. It's kind of, to me, amazing. Going 43 years and not having that, and then just all of a sudden building this up. And then my 40s have been really good to me. And I think that's why I wanted to end them with something big going into my 50s, because I really have just overcome a lot of things. And I feel at peace with myself and who I am and where I'm at. My name's Liz Andersen. And I actually grew up in Tacoma, Washington, but I currently live up on the Olympic Peninsula in Port Ludlow, Washington. And I'm a mom of four. Me and my husband, between us, have 4 kids. And I work for an airline, so Alaska Airlines. That's kind of me. And I'm Native. I'm a Tulalip tribal member.
Yes, this episode features Liz Andersen, who is a runner and a mom and a Native woman, and Liz has overcome a lot, and running plays a central role in the peace she has today. And she's here to tell the whole story, up through the big event she chose to mark the end of her 40s and to celebrate turning 50. But before you hear more from Liz, I want to welcome you to Women's Running Stories. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of this podcast. Thank you so much for being here. Now on to Liz's story. So yes, Liz has overcome a lot in her life, and her running journey is actually part of a larger health journey, which she's going to get into. A few things to know before we get started here. Liz has done a lot of work with Native Women Run. She's going to mention that organization, and she mentions NWR founder and executive director Verna Nesbegay-Volker. And one of the big things that Native Women Run does is send Native women to particular running events, and you're going to hear a little bit about that in this story. Liz also mentions the We Out Here Trail Festival, which is actually where I first met Liz. And she makes an appearance in an episode that I did about that event, and I will link to that episode in the show notes. We Out Here happened in early June in Seattle, Washington. It's also happening again in 2026. And Liz mentions that she did the race and that there were many things she liked about it, and one of them was that the race directors are 2 Black women. There she is referring to Aaliyah Irvin and the author of Running While Black, Allison Mariella Desir. Liz also mentions Stephanie Flippen, who is a coach as well as a professional ultra runner, and Stephanie is a podcast host. She is the co-host of the Making Strides podcast with Carolyn Sue, and Stephanie is one of the co-hosts of the Earth Movers podcast, along with Allison Mariella Desir and Verna Nesbegay-Volker. Also, Liz mentions Kayla Jeter, and Kayla is a Lululemon-sponsored athlete, as is Stephanie Flippen, and the 2 of them are friends. All right, let's get into it. Now, here to tell her health and running journey is Liz Andersen.
So in 2007, I actually had gastric bypass surgery. I was well over 300 pounds and lost 150 pounds from that surgery. And then 2007, 8-ish, I started walking 5Ks, and a friend asked me to walk a half marathon. And I did the Seattle half marathon, and I thought, never again. That took way too long. And so I did like one big 10K that I like ran walk in 2007. And then I kind of just fell off. And, with 4 kids, we just got busy with life. And then in 2016, actually right after the presidential election, I went into kind of a depression for a couple months of just watching TV and going to protests and just being really upset. And my son, who was working at the Y at the time, said, "I think you need to do something different, Mom. I think you should join the Y." So January of 2017, I actually joined the Y with my husband and started going to boot camp classes and some weightlifting classes and got really into that. And then started yoga, and I loved the yoga. I would call it my Trump-free hour, and it was amazing. And so I just really got into like every day I was going, and it was just feeding my soul with the yoga and even the boot camp and the weightlifting, and kind of just propelled me into, a healthy lifestyle. And so then I started getting people I worked with into it. And one of my coworkers and I decided we were going to do a Spartan sprint. Um, so we started big, and that was, I think, around 2018-ish. And so when we started training for that, I thought I need to add some cardio in because I really wasn't doing cardio. One of my classes, they would have us run around the gym, like, in between sets, and I hated it. I didn't want to do it. Like one time I even walked out and just thought, I'm not here for running. And so then I thought I need to add some cardio in. And so I think it was, I was 43. I do remember this because I have a post on my Instagram, and we did a heart walk, but me and my friend decided we were going to run it. And that was the first time I had ran a full 5K. And I posted, look at this 43-year-old running a full 5K. And then I just got addicted after that. I remember just really enjoying going for a run before work, like that, just calming me. And I was doing both. I was doing, the gym workouts and the running. We did our Spartan, had a great time. That was tough, but it turned out really well. And then I convinced 3 other friends to sign up for a half marathon. So it was probably September of 2019, we did the Orca half. That was my first half. And I trained hard. Like I actually really am proud of that training. I never missed a training run. I remember having one really bad. My 8-mile was just awful. And I remember walking home crying because it just felt awful. But besides that, really just enjoyed all of the training, and it felt doable in my life, and loved it was the Orca half in West Seattle. You run along the water, and Tulalip Tribes are kind of animal that symbolizes us as an orca. So it just felt like very calling to me. And that was kind of my first big run. And I just loved it. And then shortly after that, though, in November, I actually had skin removal surgery from all that weight I had lost previously, and now I'm getting healthy. And I noticed when I was running actually that it was causing problems. And so I thought I needed to just do this. So I went into it super healthy, probably the best shape of my life, and just super excited about it. And everything went well. He gave me about 12 weeks before I could actually run again, which 12 weeks in is the end of January of 2020. And I started training. I bought all these races for 2020, started training for, I think it was like the hot chocolate run in Seattle. And that was the only run that I actually ran live that year. And that was, I think, end of February, beginning of March of that year. And then we all know where that year went. So the gyms closed down. So my weight training never really fully picked back up, but my running did. That's all I could do. And so that's all I did. And that's all I've done since. So just kind of a background with me. I have one Native parent and I have one non-Native parent. My parents divorced when I was super young. And my dad, who's the Native parent, was not really involved in my life for a long period of time. And my mom remarried. But we grew up in a lot of poverty. There wasn't a lot of support. Like go into sports wasn't a big deal when you're trying to, make sure there's food on the table. So I didn't have that aspect in my life. And I never felt that I was an athlete or that I belonged in that space. And when I first started going to the gym, there was a lot of mental overcoming. And there was several times I'd get in the car after the gym and I would cry, and just doubt being put on me by other people when I was younger and fighting that back. And so it was overcoming all of those negative thoughts of who I was. And I also gave birth. So I had my son when I was 17. I was 16 when I got pregnant with him. And so there's all these things in my head that I kind of had fed myself about who I was kind of as a Native. Like I set up to every stereotype. I was overweight. I had a child at a young age. Kind of the history of my family is my grandmother, who I'm named after, had died of cirrhosis of the liver before I was born. That's why I was named after her. So kind of the typical Native story. My dad had been fostered out. He had him and three other brothers that were fostered out. And then there were three other kids that were adopted out because she was so sick due to alcoholism. So it's that generational trauma that just kept showing up. And I never kind of felt like I was free. I've dealt with mental health issues. I had actually a hospital stay in 2000 when I was in my early 20s, and 2 suicide attempts. So there's all these things in my life that I had just been fighting to overcome. And I think when I finally found exercise and movement, I had been on medications like crazy, even up to this point, even after losing the weight. And I had gotten off all my medications, all my mental health medications, anything else I was on. Like I had just really worked hard. Thankfully, I had a great therapist, but I had really worked hard to overcome all those doubts in my life. And then I'm in the space that I'm not familiar with, and I'm overcoming that. And I think it was just that sense of relief of like, I'm here, I'm doing this, but also just battling that doubt in my head that I had been always kind of told that I didn't belong in certain spaces. And I think mentally, I just became strong, like after going through all of these classes. And then when my friend wanted to do the Spartan Sprint, I was like, okay, I have to do this. And that's one thing that I will say is like, I feel like I've overcome so much that when I set my mind on something, I'm going to do it. And I hate telling people, but I tell everyone so that they'll hold me accountable to doing it. So I think it was around December of 2022. I don't know why I did this, quite honestly. I think I was just trying to achieve something different. I'd kind of done halves and felt good. And what's the next goal? A marathon. So December of 2022, I tell my husband, hey, I think I'm going to run a marathon next year. I don't know which one, but I think I'm going to do it. And he's very encouraging. He never doubts me. He's just like, okay, this is what you're going to do. And Christmas, he actually bought me a running belt and a massager. He took me serious. And so then this is so funny too. I downloaded the Nike app. I'd been using the Nike app, but I downloaded their marathon plan and started their marathon plan in December. And I had picked a marathon that I thought would be perfect for me, which was the Tacoma City Marathon. I had grown up there. We had recently moved out of there in 2020 to where we live now. And I wanted to go run where I knew. I wanted my family to be present, and I wanted that support. And then I also didn't want to really travel for a marathon. And so that's what I picked. It was the end of April. And I trained with the Nike app, which is super funny. I love the Nike app, don't get me wrong, but like I had no idea what I was doing. I did everything alone. I never ran with anyone else during any of my training. I didn't have any friends up here. So it was very lonely. And it was, winter into spring, and winter kind of lasts forever up here. So a lot of wet running. And I did it though. I went out and I did it. I was slower than I wanted to be. I was miserable the entire time. My family was there though, and that was like every happy moment. So it's a super small marathon. There were points on the course where there's nobody running but you because of how small it is, and I was so slow. And then they give you a 6-hour time cutoff, and I came in at like 5:40 something. And they give you, if you want to start early, you can, if you think you're going to take over 6 hours. And I thought, no, I can do this. I thought I would come in right around 5. That didn't happen. So I end at 5:40, and they're pretty much taking down everything down by the time I end, even though I met their 6-hour cutoff. So it was just like all this kind of disappointment for me, even though my family was there. And I don't want to downplay that, because my sister set it up so I had a person cheering at every mile. So that was the amazing part of it. I had friends and family and everyone supporting me. My parents like stood at mile, I think 18, because there was an out and back, and they said they wanted to see me twice. So they made sure they were there. And it was my stepdad, and my stepdad has always had a really hard time saying I love you. And so that's something that we're working on. And it was cute because his sign said in big letters, I love you. So like that part of my marathon was wonderful. The running part of it, my son ran like the last mile with me, which was super powerful. And he actually also had weight loss surgery too, just recently before that. So the fact that we were running together was huge. And so those moments were super powerful. But when I look back at the running, I just wasn't trained right. I wasn't trained up enough, And so I got what I needed out of the inner part of the running, but I didn't get the running experience that I really felt I needed. And I actually, at that point, hated the marathon and told everybody, don't ever let me do this again. Which I think happens for some people. I even wrote the marathon company and just said, hey, like I didn't get the experience that I really expected. Like I finished under the time. There was at one point where there was a turnaround and the volunteer had left. So we kind of didn't know where to turn around and everybody was a little confused. And his response was awful to me. He basically just said, sorry, you had a bad day. And I expressed in my email what a great day it was because of my family and everything. And so I thought, I'm never running with that company again. And I'm sad that I had that, because I really was excited about being there. And so that was another reason where I just said never again. Like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to be that last few runners out there and have that experience. And so, mind you, I put the marathon out of my spectrum. I didn't think that was going to happen again. And then about 2 months after that, I think I was already following Native Women Run, but I signed up. They had put out for a team to run the Windy River Relay, which is the company that puts on Hood to Coast, puts that one on also. And so Verna, the founder of Native Women Run, had asked for runners in the Pacific Northwest, and it's down in Hood River, Oregon. And you start from Hood River and you basically are running up to Mount Hood. And it was 6-member team, I think maybe probably 70, 80 miles. I'm not kind of sure. I don't remember, but I got picked for that. And then Verna comes out for it because it's her first relay team. So I get to hang out with Verna for like 3 days, which is amazing. And it was the most powerful experience for me. And that's one thing I've always struggled with, being mixed race and being Native and not being raised by your Native parent. And my dad, who I have a great relationship with now, was not raised in his culture because he was fostered out. And so I've always struggled. I've always been proud of who I am, but I've always struggled with having that be a piece of my identity and all the negative inputs that have came in, and never having a good example of a strong Native woman because my grandmother had passed. And so being in this space was just amazing. And then to have other people that are like me doing what I like to do and just feeling that common bond, and then just the healing of being out there and running. And we're standing on the start line and a eagle comes and swoops down right over us. And many people in Native culture believe that's your ancestors coming back. And like it was just amazing. We all just got chills. So had that great experience with Native Women Run and that relay. And then I was just kind of sold. I was like, these are my people. And I love that Verna has given Native women space, one, but also the examples. When I was a kid, I didn't have any Native women to look up to. I do remember, though, in school, I did have one. They have like Indian education. And so they have like a counselor, and they come and get you, once a month, and they might take you to something, a Native event. But it's just connecting with Native students in the school district to make sure they don't get lost. And that was probably the only exposure I had to a Native woman. And so then all of a sudden seeing this space where Verna's just creating all these role models, and I love it. And so I just continued when she had races in this area to sign up and run. Fast forward, let's see. Verna actually got a partnership with Orca Running, which is a local Orca Run club here. And so she got 5 races with them. It's in the Seattle area. And so I helped kind of coordinate that with her. And so it's continued to run with them. And 2025 has been a tough year. We had moved up to the Port Ludlow area to help care for my in-laws, my husband's stepfather and his mother. We were super close to them and we'd come visit them all the time. And I always loved living up in this area. They live in Port Townsend. It's a beautiful area. I have an Instagram post where I thought one day, like I put on there, I love this. We will retire here. And in August of 2020, we packed up our house and sold our house that we had raised our kids in, but moved up here to be close to them and had cared for them. We lost my father-in-law in actually I believe it was 2021. And so then we had just been going back and forth and helping his mom since we're within 30 minutes of them. And then we noticed her health declining kind of beginning of this year. And April, we were finally able to get her to go to the hospital because it had gotten pretty bad. My husband had started staying in the house with her, but she was refusing to go get care. And so we took her to the hospital. And on Saturday, she was diagnosed with multiple myeloma on Sunday, and she passed away on Wednesday. And so we had been caring for her for the last, 4 or 5 years. My husband's an only child, and I got super close with them. She would always say I was her daughter. So losing her, it was really hard. And so Verna had put out for Chicago. And so this was kind of in the period of the end of April to maybe mid to late May. So I put in for it. I just thought, I'm doing this. I need something big for my 50th. I need something to keep me going right now because I didn't really I didn't want to keep going. Like, honestly, we just kind of wanted to stay in purgatory because we both were just so emotionally distraught over it. And I put in for it. And Verna called me and said, hey, I was actually at a work meeting. It was my first day back to work because I had taken a month off, and I was at a work meeting in downtown Seattle, and she had been trying to FaceTime me, and Verna has never tried to FaceTime me before. So I knew something was up. And she said, hey, I have this great news for you. And I'm super excited to be not super excited to be running the marathon again, but super excited to be representing and doing something really hard. And I knew it was 2 days after my 50th birthday. So I just thought, I'm putting it all into this. Like, everything that I have right now is going into this. So here I am signing up for this marathon. And I am like, what am I doing? And so I ran into, Verna came and stayed with me. We did the We Out Here Trail Fest, and she was just so reassuring of like, you can do this, Liz. Like, this is meant for you. We picked you for a reason. And it was so nice to just have her reassurance and then have that reassurance in person. And just that weekend, I felt like she really cared for me. I felt like she was kind of being a mom to me and making sure I was okay. And that was super appreciative. And so I met Stef that weekend, Stef Flippin, who ended up becoming my coach. It was just such a great weekend. Like, there was just so many powerful things at that. Just having two Black women being the race organizers, so many first-time trail runners, like a BIPOC trail race, great music, great food, great people. Like, it just was really amazing. So I had also met somebody else there, Jackie, who is a coach, but she only coaches for short distances. She's a 5K runner. Has over 100 5Ks she's done. And so I had asked her about coaching me, and she said, I'm not doing longer distances. And I was like, okay, I'll look for somebody else. And then Stephanie Flippin just kept coming up on my Instagram feed. And then I started listening to Strides, Making Strides. So I just thought, okay, like, I need to reach out. And so I reached out to Stef and just said, hey, I'm interested. Would you be interested in working with me? This is who I am. This is what I'm doing. And she was super excited. And so I think we met the end of June or July and just made sure that we were a good fit to work together. And she was just, once again, comforting and reassuring. And so it was a hit. Like, we hit it off. We met over the phone, and then she just started setting up my training plans, and we went full swing into training, and it was just amazing. Like, honestly, what a difference from my first experience of just downloading an app than having this person. And, we didn't talk all the time. We would just talk through the training app that she gave me. But what a difference of just having somebody that, one, knows what they're doing, that was just reassuring of everything. I'd say, hey, I'm doing this. Does this look okay? This is what I'm taking in during my runs, my long runs. Does that sound good? And I would adjust things as needed, just with travel and work and things like that. And she was just always super supportive. So I really felt like I had, and I think I hit 100 mile during my first marathon month when I was training for that one. And I think I'm now into like 4 months of 100 miles each month, but it felt strong. It didn't feel tiring or anything. It just felt like doable. So I went into Chicago super confident. Like, I knew I put in my hard work. I knew I did all the right things. Like, I just went in going, yep, I can do this. Almost too confident, honestly. I kept scaring myself, like, is this reality? Like, did I really do this? And it was neat, though, because I have all these great women around me that were saying, like, hey, you've worked so hard. I see the work you're putting in. You're so dedicated. And in my head, I'm thinking, no, it was on my plan. I just had to do it. And trying to down talk myself. But really, I had put in the hard work, and I really felt good about my training and what I had done, and I'd stayed healthy. And I had set up, like, I'd done a couple different Native women runs during that time. So I'd met Jocelyn's on the board for Native Women Run. She came down from Canada. We did a half together. I think we even did another trail run together because Verna had got the trail run for Native Women Run. And we did that. Of course, I fell on that run, same as I did on We Out Here, but I survived, right? Like, I got back up and kept running. But yeah, it was just a really good experience altogether, training for this. So I went into Chicago super confident and super excited. One thing that I will say too is so the ribbon skirts, Native women, it's part of our culture, and it picked up kind of, I think, a couple years ago with the running ribbon skirts, which are shorter. And I thought, I need to make a new one for Chicago. I need to be fresh coming into Chicago. Well, I don't sew. And so my mother-in-law was a really good seamstress. She actually did it for a living. And she had a really nice sewing machine. And I told my husband, I want the sewing machine. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I want it. And so I did get her sewing machine. And so I asked my mom, my non-native mom, I said, can you help me make this ribbon skirt? And she said, I will help you, but you are making the whole thing. And I was like, okay. And so I took that sewing machine to her house. I picked out my ribbon skirt. So our tribal colors are red, black, and white. And I did a black skirt. Those were my 3 colors of ribbons. And then I decided to put an orca on it. And I was laughing the whole time I was sewing it. I was so nervous because I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm sweating, and my mom's like, you're fine. You've got this. Like, she's cheering me on while I'm sewing the ribbon skirt. But I made my own ribbon skirt, and that's the ribbon skirt I wore for Chicago. And I think for me, that was powerful. Just, I didn't have a grandma, or I didn't have somebody saying, hey, this is how you do it. But I took my mother-in-law, who gave me that sewing machine. So I feel like she was there making that skirt with me. And I took my mom, who was just there to encourage me and tell me what to do. And I made my own ribbon skirt. And to me, that's powerful. And I used to suffer from a lot of anxiety, honestly, on the daily. I would have panic attacks. And it's something that running's really helped with. And I was so stressed out during that whole thing as I'm pulling like my sweatshirt off and I'm just like, and I thought, this is how I used to live every single day. And it was like a proud moment of me of like, this does not feel comfortable, And I was like, and I did this every day and lived that way. And it was a moment in time of sewing the skirt. But to me too, that was another kind of proud moment of like, that's not who I am anymore. Like, it's great that I overcame it, but that's not my story. For a long time, I felt like the mental health and me going through all of the trials of the mental health and, having a hospital stay and struggling with that was kind of my story. And one day when I realized like, hey, my anxiety is pretty good. Like, obviously we all have a little bit of anxiety, but this isn't dictating my day to day. And this isn't my story anymore. And that's a powerful moment for me too, just realizing like the running Liz is the story now, the overcoming is the story, not the mental health issues is no longer the story. It's the overcoming of those things. So we got into Chicago. The next morning, I'm going to the expo. I decided to walk there because I see that Nike has some event going on where they're giving out slushies, and Coach Bennett is on the Nike app, and I've listened to him for years, and he says he's there. So I thought, I'm going to go by there and I'm going to see Coach Bennett. Well, I was in a daze. I walked by there. I got my slushie. I'm taking video. I'm super excited. I'm stopping at stoplights where I don't need to because they have all the streets cut off. Like my brain was somewhere else. I'm just like in the moment of like, wow, this is so amazing being here in Chicago. I look back on my video and there is Coach Bennett, and I never even saw him or said hi to him. But he's in my video. But that's how it felt. Like, it just felt surreal being there, right? Like, I was just walking around in this surreal days of being in Chicago for this. And then we had a dinner with Native Women Run. So I got to meet, we had 4 runners there. I got to meet our 3 other runners. We're all from the United States. Or all around the US, Turtle Island. And I'd never met them before. So it was all new women I had never run with before. So that was super special. And then on Saturday morning, we did our shakeout run, and that was great. I met one of the other runners that had ran for Native Women Run last year in New York, Michelle Blanco. She was wonderful. And then there was just other women that came that I had met through Native Women Run online, and we finally got to meet in person too. So that was super special. So it was just like one thing leading up to another. It was just this great weekend. But Saturday night, I went to bed and I started doubting myself really big time. And I'm sitting in bed going, why did I tell all these people I was doing this? I don't want to fail in front of everyone. I don't want to embarrass Verna. I don't want to embarrass Native Women Run. Like, I got all of this doubt in my head, and I'm sitting there in bed. I've gotten everything done and I'm trying to go to sleep. And my husband is watching TV and he looks over at me and I'm crying. And he said, what are you crying for? And I said, I don't know if I can do this. And he said, yes, you can. And I said, I'm just doubting everything. And at the same time, I'm actually texting Stef, telling her all of this. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. And she sends me this wonderful text back saying, you're nervous because this is super important to you. And if it wasn't important, you wouldn't feel this way. And my husband's telling me the same exact words as I'm getting my text from Stef. And I was like, okay. And he's like, you've got this. I know you. You've worked hard. Like, he's such a good motivator. And so I was like, okay, you're right. You're right. So I kind of calmed myself down between the two of them, finally fell asleep, got up Sunday morning, so confident. So confident. It was so cool. I woke up and I remember I walked to the race all by myself, which is fine. I was in like the M corral and the other runners were, in earlier corrals, but just feeling like this is amazing. Like, this is great. I've got this. And one thing, so I had kind of thought I would come in right. My goal was like an 11:30 pace, which is right over 5 hours. And Steph really believed I could go a little quicker based on my training. And so she put me for kind of like a 4:45. And that I think kind of made me nervous, but I trusted her. And so she gave me this great plan. I decided to start out with the Pacers, but I found the Pacers, like I'm in just such a good place. And it starts out and there's so many people, like I've never been to anything like this. I think if you remember me saying my last marathon, there were spots where you're running all alone. There's no one cheering you on. There are so many people here. But it's so great. Like you're seeing the Chicago skyline before you start. The crazy part too is when I ran past the start line, Coach Bennett's like cheering people on. He's right near me. Like I feel like we came like eye contact. I was like, okay, I had my Coach Bennett moment now. And so I just like started out super confident and stayed with that pace group. I think it was the 450 pace group is who I was with. Stayed with them, felt really good, like say the first mile or so. And then I ran into my husband at mile 2 and things had felt like they were getting hard. And I was like, this is mile 2. This should not be hard. And I said that to him. I said, this feels really hard. And he's like, you got this, keep going. And so I kind of kept going and I was like, this is just feeling harder than I thought it should be. Like mentally, I'm like, you're doing great. Like I'm watching my watch and I'm like, everything's good, but it just feels hard. What is going on? And I'm staying with that pace group though. And so I'm proud of that because this is kind of where our plan was at. I'm checking everything. I had wrote the plan on my arm, but it still felt hard. Um, and so I run into Verna at mile 8 and it's amazing that we can connect with people. There's so many people on the course. And she just said, remember those that doubted you and you got this. And I was like, you're right. I got this. And I had a friend that flew out just to chase me around with my family. So my sister and my parents had came out for the marathon. So I had family there. And they were trying to drive around to the spots though. And I'm getting this message on my phone. Like I have so many people messaging me, which was wonderful too. And that was great motivation. But my family says, we're stuck. We can't find you. And I sent them a text back and said, I'm running 26.2 miles. You're going to find me. and so I think it was mile 10, they finally were able to catch up with me. And I come strolling in, they have a video of me and I'm acting like I haven't ran 10 miles. And at that point, I'm still feeling like it's hard. So I love looking back at that video because that I think was just my mental, because I look at the video and I come casually strolling up like it's not a big deal. And which is super cool. Like I love that I was that relaxed, even though in my head I still felt like it was hard. About mile 13, I fell off from the pace group, and I'm actually very thankful for that because I feel like that's what was making it hard, is trying to keep up with them. And then I just thought, I'm just going to enjoy this. Like there's so many people out here. I'm walking past keg stands, or running, I should say, past keg stands. Every neighborhood is different. It's like a party in the streets for the entire time. And I thought, I'm just going to enjoy all of this. I ran by Michelle. We caught up at somewhere, Michelle Blanco, the one I had mentioned before that was Native Women Run. We all had our running skirts on, our ribbon skirts on. So I recognized her and caught up with her, and she was struggling a little bit, but we were able to just chat a little bit. And then she actually took off and run past me. I was like, okay, which is good. Like she was struggling. So it was good to see her kind of take off and still have that motivation. And just my family caught up with me, I think 4 times. That friend that was with them was 3 times. I think I saw Verna twice. I mean, there was just someone everywhere that you needed a moment. Kayla Jeter, she was there with the Lululemon, and I saw her and ran up and gave her a huge hug. And I have no idea if she even knew who I was at that point. But I told her, and this was the funny part too. I said, I'm one of Stef's athletes, because I knew her and Stef were good friends. And then me saying out of my mouth, Stef's athlete, it's actually going to make me cry right now. Sorry. Because that's the second time I've said it. To say I'm an athlete was huge. That was huge. Because I don't think I had ever really, even up to this point, felt like I was an athlete, And so that was just an amazing moment. Like it was amazing moment after amazing moment after amazing moment. And then finally, I think it was mile 25, my husband caught up with me, and I saw him on it. He had went to a different spot than we had agreed upon, but I knew he was going to be there soon. And so I saw him. So I just ran up and I kissed him, and he said, "You got this. You're almost there." And it was cute because everybody around him started cheering when I kissed him. And then even my sister said, like, "You picked up that last mile." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." Because I kind of slowed down a few of those miles. Like, I look back, and at the time I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going so slow. But I look back, and there was a few miles that were a little bit slower, but I think I was enjoying the moments. I was, stopping and hugging the people that came out to see me. So I ended up crossing the finish line. I had also taken my Tulalip flag with me, which, being an introvert, I felt like that was bringing a lot of attention, crossing the finish line with my flag. But I was really proud of that. And so I wanted to do it. And so I brought my flag with me and just ran across that finish line, and was the most amazing feeling. Like, I'm sure I teared up, but I just was so happy. Like, it was such a good moment of just overcoming all these different things, like all of this the games that I had played with myself, all of the heartache that we had over the last year, the doubt in myself, the doubt as a Native woman that I could do this. And it was just all of those things, like, had just came and kind of went away, I guess, after I ran across that finish line. And so I feel like I crossed it with confidence, which was amazing given the journey. So yeah, it was just a really, really special day.
A huge congratulations to Liz on Chicago and it just being such a special day. And also congratulations on working to heal and build the peace that she has today. And a big, big thank you, Liz, for coming on the podcast and sharing this whole story. Just wow. Thank you. You are incredible, and I am so grateful that you came and shared your story on Women's Running Stories. And happy 50th birthday. Now, I know you, like me, are going to want to keep up with Liz, so please look to the show notes for how you can do that. I will provide a link to her Instagram. I will also provide links to the We Out Here special episode that was on Women's Running Stories, also to the We Out Here Trail Festival race itself, as well as the Earth Movers podcast, Native Women Run, Verna Nesbegay Volker, Stephanie Flippin, Allison Mariella Dacier. All the links will be there. So yes, look to the show notes. And that does bring me to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for being here. I always appreciate you coming and listening. I am Cherie Louise Turner. I'm the host and producer of Women's Running Stories. And until next Tuesday, I do wish you joyful, healthy, peaceful strides forward. Women's Running. Women's Running Stories.